In this video, I'm going to show you how we're going to make our public service announcement posters. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to locate the public service announcement posters assignment on Schoology. Then what you're going to do is you're going to click on My Document, and you're going to open up that document. The reason that you're going to click on that document is because it's going to open up the rubric for you. You're going to follow this rubric to make sure that you have everything that you need to get 100 on this assignment. For right now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to minimize this. Then I'm going to open up Photoshop. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And up at the top in Photoshop, let me just move my screen up here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to go to File, to New. Then I'm going to click on over here where it says Print. And for this assignment, you can choose either Portrait Mode or you could choose Landscape Mode. I'm going to choose Portrait Mode. And I'm going to retitle this as my PSA Poster. Then I'm going to click Create. And what this does is it creates a new window for me to work in. Alright, so the first thing that I want to do is I want to start with the background first. So I want to think about what I want to do for my background. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move Photoshop off to the side. So I'm just going to make this half my screen here. I'm going to open up Google, and I'm going to find a background for my public service announcement poster. Alright, so what I did was I did a Google search for the image of smoke. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on an image. And I'm simply going to click and drag that image over into Photoshop. To resize it, I'm going to click on the Move tool right here. And I'm going to stretch this so that it fits my entire canvas. Once I stretch it, I now need to apply that transformation. So I'm going to click Apply. Don't forget that you also need to cite your images. So I'm going to take this image here. I'm going to copy this image. I'm going to go over into my citing sources for images. I'm going to paste this image over here. Then I'm going to click on that image so that I have the original website. I'm going to copy this website. Then I'm going to go over into BibMe. And I'm going to cite this website using BibMe. Make sure that you're doing this throughout the project. That way you don't have to worry about it at the end of the project. So I'm going to click Select. Then I'm going to click Final Step. And remember, the only thing that I really have to do here is just put today's date in. And then I'm going to create the citation. Alright, and then I'm going to copy this citation, and I'm going to paste this right over here. Alright, so you want to keep this up as you're working on the assignment. Alright, so the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to add another image over here. So this time I'm going to look for cigarettes, and I'm going to do an image search, and I'm going to take this image right here, and I'm going to bring this image over into Photoshop. So I'm going to resize this image. Remember, you need to apply that transformation. So I'm going to click up here and I'm going to say Apply. Don't forget to cite this. So you're going to go back and forth and you're going to continue to cite your images as we go along. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to skip that part because you know that you already need to do that. Alright? So over in Photoshop, what I want to do is I want to erase this white part on this image here. So there's a few different ways that I can do this. But for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the magic wand, make sure that you have the right layer selected, And then I'm going to simply go through And you'll notice that when I click, it's selecting too much. So what I can do up here, in the options bar, there's a tolerance. I'm going to lower that to about 10. I'm going to hit Command D on my keyboard. D is in deselect, so that deselects that area that I just used. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to try again. So now that I clicked and I lowered the tolerance up here in the options bar, it has now selected less, and I can just simply go through and I can start deleting my background. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm just using the magic wand to go through and delete some of this white part on here to make it look like it's part of the image and make it look like it's part of the poster. And I'm going to hit Command D to deselect there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the eraser tool over here, and I'm really going to go in and clean up these edges. So you want to make sure that you have nice clean edges on your poster. And I'm just going to very carefully go through, and I'm going to erase some of these edges on here. Alright, so now that I've cleaned up my image a little bit, I'm going to resize this. Remember, you always want to be thinking about the rule of thirds and the rule of phi. Alright, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to put my slogan on here, or my eye-catching phrase on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the text tool over here, and I'm going to click over here on my canvas, and I'm going to type out my slogan. Now this is really, really tiny, and I want it to be nice and big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the font size right up here. Remember, you want your slogan to be 7 words or less, and you want it to be something unique that you created, and you want it to be something catchy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just resizing this so that it fits. And you can kind of play around with this. Also, you can go up here, you can change the color of your text. So I'm going to make this red. I can also change the warping of my text. So if I want this to have an arc to it, I'm going to move this over so you can see what I'm doing here. You can kind of play around with these. Alright, so I chose red on purpose. Now, red and black, if I squint my eyes at this, it kind of gets lost. So what I want to do is I want to create a border around my words here so that they stand out a little bit more. To do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click over here on the layer in this gray area right next to it. So I'm going to double click right there. I'm going to move this off to the side down here so you can see what I'm doing. In these options, I'm going to choose Outer Glow, and I'm going to click on this. So not only do I have this checked, but I also clicked on where it says Outer Glow. Sometimes you need to click Normal over here. You can play around with the opacity on this. I kind of want it to have like a smoky look to it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say that I want it softer. And what this is asking is saying, do I want this to be solid, or do I want it to kind of fade out a little bit? And I want mine to kind of fade out a little bit because of the message that it says on here. So that's one way that I can make my words stand out on here. I can also do a drop shadow. So if you want to do a drop shadow, you can also do that. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So over here I have the opacity. If I bring that opacity all the way up, you can see what's going on underneath here. So I'm going to bring this down because I do want it to stand out a little bit more, and I want it to have a little bit more depth to it, but I don't want it to be too strong. So I'm going to mess around, and you can kind of play around with these. It's going to be different depending on what you want this to look like. And the third option that I have to make this text stand out even more is if I click on this inner glow, or I'm sorry, the inner glow right here, and I'm going to choose that one. Now where it says blend mode, this is where I'm going to say normal, and I'm going to change that to normal. Because I have white on the outside, I actually want to have a contrast here. So for this one, I'm going to choose black for this. And this is the same thing as the outer glow, except this is the inner glow. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to kind of play around with these. I do want this one to be precise. And I'm just going to see if I can make this stand out just a little bit more. And you can see over here it's showing me what's going on in my picture. And this gives it a nice depth to it. It gives you a nice texture as well. Let's bring this opacity up. So you can see I have this smoky effect going on in the background, and I wanted my letters to kind of mimic that effect, to kind of give it some texture to it. So now I'm going to click OK. So again, all I did was I added an inner glow, outer glow, and dropped shadow to this. And you can see it just gave my text something, it just made it really nice and easy to look at. Alright, so I'm just flipping back and forth between my rubric just to make sure that I have all of this in here. The next thing that I want to do for my poster is I want to make sure that I have somewhere that people can go to direct them to quit smoking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a Google search for a website to help them quit smoking, and I'm going to put that on my poster. Alright, so I have this smokefree.gov, and you can either use a website or you can use a phone number on your public service announcement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this website to the bottom of my poster here. And I'm going to say, to quit smoking, go to, and then I'm going to put the website on here. Alright, so now what I want to do is I want to change my text on here because it's too big and it's not fitting on here. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, but big enough so that I can see it. And I'm going to center this on my screen here. And I think I'm going to make this one white. So I'm going to apply the same techniques that I did with the other one to make this stand out. Actually, I think what I'm going to do here is I just want this to be a plain black background under here so that it stands out. So I used my rectangular marquee tool. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my paint tool here, create a new layer before I do this. I'm going to fill this in, but now I want my text over top of that. So I'm going to hit Command D to deselect, and I'm going to click and drag my text above this. So now I have my slogan up here. You'll have more images in here. I was just kind of showing you what to do with this one. Alright, so once I'm finished with my project, what I'm going to do is in Photoshop, I'm going to go to File, to Save As. I'm going to change this format to JPEG, and then I'm going to click Save. Notice where it's going to save to. It's going to save to my downloads. I actually want this to save to either my desktop or my documents. I'm going to save it to my desktop for right now, and I'm going to click Save. This window is going to pop up, and I'm going to click OK. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go over into Schoology. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Insert, Image, Upload from Computer, and this is going to be from my desktop, and I'm going to insert this image, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grade myself on the next page. So I'm going to grade myself out of 20 points. Do I have everything here? And I'm going to go down this column. Then I'm going to have a peer grade me as well. Then you're going to click Submit Assignment on Schoology.